What is going on, guys? This is Jake at That Fit Friend, and today I'll be reviewing the Xero Shoes Forza Trainer. So 3 things to like about this model is number 1, I think if you're on the market for a barefoot shoe, specifically for lifting and weight training, this could be an interesting model to explore. And so what I like about this model when it comes to lifting is number 1, the outsole has a nice level of tread. So whether you're training on rubber gym floors, wooden platforms, or turf, I think you should get a nice level of grip in the shoe. And then number 2, I like the midfoot security of the shoe for the most part. So I think whether you are a beginner or if you're a competitive powerlifter, for example, you should get a nice level of upper security in the shoe. So whether you're squatting, sumo deadlifting, just regular conventional deadlifting, you should get a nice lockdown feeling in this model. Now, the strap on this shoe is interesting, and it's also a con. I'll talk about that in a second, but I do like the idea behind it in theory. The second pro that I have with this shoe is that I see it as a good beginner-friendly barefoot shoe for lifting. So on top of being a good shoe focused for lifting, I think if you're a beginner trying to acclimate this style of footwear and you want something for training, this could be a good option to look into. And the reason I say that is because with this shoe, you have a removable insole and you also have an internal finish construction. So you do have a little bit of variability with the cushion that you get with this model, but the sole does feel a little bit thicker than other barefoot shoes. So I do think it's going to be a little bit more forgiving when it comes to the overall cushion and feel you get with this model. So if you are new to barefoot shoes, this could be a good model to explore because you do get a little bit more cushion to really acclimate to the style of footwear when you are working out and lifting. The third reason why I like this shoe is its overall simplistic design, and you have a nice level of toe box width. So I think you should have adequate width through the toe box and midfoot for most folks to really splay those toes. So if you are worried about a shoe running a little bit more narrow, I don't think that's going to be a concern with this shoe. And I do like the relatively simplistic design of this shoe. It has a booty style construction, relatively minimal branding, and so I do like that about this model. But now let's talk about a couple of cons I have with the Forza Trainer. So 2 cons that I have with the Forza Trainer is number 1, the strap. And this pains me because I really want to like this feature, but the strap is just not built very well in my opinion. So basically when you look at the strap, you don't have a ton of Velcro that comes down the side of the shoe. So if you have a low volume foot, or if you just like to crank your shoes a little bit tighter, what ends up happening is you don't have a ton of Velcro to really secure the strap. So Xero Shoes, in the next iteration, please elongate this Velcro because it will make it a much stronger shoe. Because as of right now, like the strap I think can be a little bit limiting for certain foot anatomies. And if you don't have a ton of realty to really put down this Velcro and secure that midfoot, then it's not really doing its job and it's kind of a throwaway feature. So while I like the strap and while it does work in most contexts, I can see that being an issue for some lifters and athletes. The second con that I have with this shoe is that it runs pretty hot. So with this model, you have a booty style construction and a layered mesh. And what I noticed is that when I was training in this shoe, especially barefoot, this model would get pretty hot and it would actually hold sweat for a while after my sessions. So there isn't a ton of breathability through the toe box. And so if you are highly prioritizing breathability with your barefoot shoes, especially for working out, you might want to look into other models like the Vivo Barefoot Primus Light 3. That model breathes a little bit better. The Tolos Archetype 1 even breathes a little bit better than this shoe. So I do think the upper could be a bit more breathable, especially through the toe box and midfoot. But overall, this shoe has been a strong performer, but there are little things that could be tweaked to make the shoe a much stronger model. But now let's talk about the performance of the Forza Trainer. To break down the performance of the Forza Trainer, I'm going to break this section down into multiple parts. I'll talk about how this shoe performs for lifting, versatile training, shorter runs, and then daily wear. In the context of lifting, I really like this shoe, and that's for 3 key reasons. Number 1, I think if you're wanting a barefoot shoe solely for weight training, the shoe won't disappoint. You get a nice flat feel with this model, you get a nice width through the toe box, and you get a nice level of stability with the shoe sole, despite it being a little bit thicker than other barefoot shoes in my opinion. The second reason why I like this model for lifting is the outsole tread, and I mentioned this earlier, but I don't think grip is going to be an issue with the shoe, and overall the sole does feel pretty durable, so it should be a shoe that lasts a while, especially if you're exclusively wanting them just for weight training. And then the third reason is I do like the overall upper security. Now again, this strap is a little bit problematic and I could see it being an issue for some foot anatomies, But overall, this model does give you a nice lockdown feel if that strap resonates with your foot anatomy. And I say if because, again, I don't want to go and say this strap's going to work for everybody, because that's just not true. And I think low volume feet are going to have an issue with this model, especially for those who really want to tighten the shoe. When it comes to versatile training, the shoe did a pretty good job. So I think if you're wanting a barefoot shoe for primarily weight training, but then sprinkling in some HIIT or some versatile style training on the side, the shoe can be a good option to explore. It does give you a nice athletic fit with this booty style construction, and overall it does a pretty good job in that context because it is pretty lightweight and it articulates pretty well. Now, my only issue with this model for versatile training is that it does run pretty hot once again. So if you are wanting a shoe that's a lot more lightweight and breathable and you're looking into Xero shoes, the Xelen and HFS I think will be a better bet for that context because they will breathe a little bit better and they will have a slightly lighter feel to them. So overall, this shoe does work for versatile training, but it's not necessarily my go-to from Xero shoes if that's a high priority for your training. When it comes to short runs and daily wear, this model works for short runs. And again, I think with the thicker sole construction, if you're a beginner and if you're just wanting to tack on like 1 or 2 miles, maybe pre or post workout, the shoe can work for that. And you'll have a little bit more cushion in this model compared to other barefoot shoes. So I could see it being a good option for that. But when it comes to longer distance runs, I would say explore different models because once again, the breathability just ain't there in this model. And with this midfoot construction, I feel like you'll get more out of this strap if you're limiting their use for long distance runs overall. So I would definitely say look into models that are a bit more specific for running if that is something you're wanting out of your shoe. But when it comes to like a mile or two here and there, this model should work just fine. When it comes to daily wear, the shoe is okay. Overall, I like it for the most part. I do think the Hirashi inspired design looks a little dated at times. The toe box does look a little bit clunky too. And overall, it does a good job for daily wear, but it's not my favorite when it comes to its overall appearance. So you can definitely rock them out and about. Just keep in mind that breathability may be an issue, so you might want to wear super thin no-show socks or even go barefoot in this model if you plan to wear them all day, but their comfort is pretty exceptional. So I do think that'll be a perk of the shoe for daily wear. But overall, the performance of the shoe has been pretty strong, especially just for lifting. For versatile training and short runs, this model is okay. And then for daily wear, like other Xero shoes, they're okay as well, depending on if you like their appearance. So when it comes to the price of the Forza Trainer, you can expect to pay $129.99 USD. Now, I think if you're on the market for a barefoot shoe exclusively for lifting, that price point could be justified. However, if you want a model for a little bit of everything and you're looking into Xero shoes, you can explore the Prio. That's at $89.99 USD, and I'll save you a little bit of money, and it will work the same for lifting, casual wear, and some versatile training here and there. Or you could even look into something like the Tolos Archetype 1 that costs like around 110-ish, and that model does look a little bit better and it works fine in the gym as well. So while I do like this model for lifting, I think if you're not looking for a shoe exclusively for that, the price point of the shoe can run a little bit high, especially if you can't find them on sale. All right, now let's answer the question, who should invest in the Xero Shoes Forza Trainer? So there are two populations that I think will resonate really well with this model. Number one, if you are somebody who's looking for a barefoot shoe exclusively for weight training, then this model can be a good option to explore. It excels in the context of lifting, and if you're just using them for that activity, they should last you a while too, so your investment should go the distance. The second population is the barefoot shoe beginner who wants a shoe for training. With the shoe's slightly thicker sole and the removable insole, this model is a little bit more forgiving with its overall fit and feel, so I could see it being a really good beginner-friendly barefoot shoe for training. Now, again, if you have a low volume foot, I would say probably pass on this shoe because the strap I don't think will resonate with your foot anatomy. And if you're somebody who doesn't really love the appearance of this shoe, there are models out there that will breathe a little bit better and look better on a daily wear basis. So while this model does excel for lifting, it's definitely not going to be a shoe for everybody and every single type of foot anatomy. So when it comes to the sizing and fit in the Xero Shoes Forza Trainer, most lifters and athletes should be safe going true to size in this model. Xero Shoes also recommends going true to size in the shoe on their site. Its size is similar to the Prio, the updated sizing of the Prio. So if you do wear a Prio, I would say go for the same size in this model. And overall, you do get a nice level of width through the midfoot and forefoot, and the length does fit pretty true. So when discussing the weight, heel, toe drop, and insole in the Forza Trainer, for my size 10 model here, we have a weight of 9.4 ounces. This model has a 0mm heel toe drop, and you do get a removable insole with this model. So you have this thin foam removable insole that you can remove, and you have an internal finish construction, so you can rock this shoe without an insole and they won't break down too fast. All right, now let's break down the construction of the Xero Shoes Forza Trainer. Up here on the toe box, we have a synthetic layer that wraps the entirety of the toe box from the base of the forefoot midfoot around the toe. It does give you a nice level of support when training. And then looking at the upper of the toe box, we have this layered mesh material. Again, I wish the breathability was a little bit better up here through the toe box because I think it would help promote just an overall cooler feel when training in the shoe. Looking at the upper through the midfoot and the heel, we also have a mesh material. We do have a booty style construction with a heel tab and a tongue tab to help pull the shoe on. We have some Xero branding here on the lateral side. And then looking at the midfoot construction, we have this Hirashi inspired design here that is pretty signature with Xero shoes, so that is standing true with this model as well. And then looking at the eyelets, we have one eyelet down here with this Hirashi strap, and then we have dual eyelet, dual eyelet, dual eyelet. So technically we have 7 eyelets in total, but really 4 that go up to help give you a nice level of midfoot security. Looking at the strap construction, it's locked in with this rubber material, and then again, with the Velcro, it would have been nice to have a little bit more Velcro that wrapped down the entirety of the strap, because again, as you pull the strap tight, even if you're not going that tight, you still don't have a ton of realty to help secure the strap. So in future iterations, once again, it would be really nice to see this Velcro elongated because it would give you a little bit more wiggle room with your security of this shoe. On the medial side, we also have a Hirashi inspired design here with this rubber strap. Overall, it feels pretty durable for the most part. Like, I don't think this is gonna rip too easy, but it is something that also kind of gives me concern with the shoe, which is if somebody is trying to tighten this model a ton, is this rubber going to eventually give way and kind of just like get too loose over time? That is something that's going to be like kind of like a based on a time will tell, especially with different foot anatomies trying this shoe. Looking at the sole construction of this model, we have a full rubber sole that wraps the entirety of the shoe. We have different tread patternings throughout the base of the heel, forefoot, and midfoot here. Overall, the grip is pretty good and the articulation is pretty good in the shoe as well. It is a little bit thicker in nature than other Xero shoes, and so I'm actually curious what the official stack height is for the sole, because it doesn't look like Xero shoes actually list it for the Forza Trainer. So that is something I'm interested with this model. And then looking at the insole, you get that signature foam removal insole that Xero shoes puts in all their shoes, and you have an internal finish construction once again. The laces in this model are also pretty thin, and I forgot to mention this in my midfoot section. I would prefer actually thicker laces, so maybe in future iterations too, we will get a thicker lace as well, because I think it just does a little bit better with overall security, because these laces are a little bit thin and they can come undone at times because they are kind of waxy in feel. So that is something that I wish would be also improved in future iterations. But that kind of wraps up the gist of the Forza Trainer's construction. If you have additional questions on this model, drop a comment down below. All right guys, that wraps up my review of the Xero Shoes Forza Trainer. Overall, I like this model. However, there are little things that could be improved with this shoe. So hopefully in future iterations, Xero Shoes tweaks some of the things like the overall Velcro realty you get on the strap and the breathability of this model, because I think with those improvements, this model will be even stronger in the context of weight training. If you have additional questions on this shoe, drop a comment down below or reach out to me personally, whichever you prefer. And as always, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I will see you in the next one.